One down, 15 more to go. Folks, ladies and gentle cars, my name is Farkle8000, and welcome back to the Diecast Competition series. We're here to begin round number 2 of the 2025 season. Today, we kick off the February competition. In early March, I'll be on time at some point, right? We had a rookie in Comic win January. Could we see another? The trend suggests it. Yes, there are trends. I chose not to mention them in the last competition, but let me tell you now. Since 2023, since we've had a new point system, the winner of the first competition has gone on to win the first 4 competitions of the season, never lose the points lead, and win the championship. Comic has just put his name into the hat to continue that trend. And there seemed to be some confusion regarding the New Yorkers tournament. I kept saying, don't get to the next round, finish last. Well, let me do my best to explain this. So each competitor has their speed, and there are many competitors who have the same speed. And at least one competitor from each speed group will win their way to the next round, but they won't stay there. They won't stay that high up in points. For example, in 2023, Bird started 42nd in points, but as the season went on, she ran and finished around 155th. Compare that to Blitz. She started 61st in points and ended up running and finishing 2nd in points, pretending that they're New Yorkers and Bird is out of the series purely because she lost an insane number of positions because she doesn't have the speed to stay in the top 50. If she had started somewhere around 180th and finished 155th, she would have had a much better chance to gain positions she needed to stay in the competition. So I hope that makes sense, clears up some of the confusion. If not, let me know in the comments and I'll explain further. Oh, and one final thing to mention before the racing begins. Round 1 has been split into 2 parts. Today, you will see the first 31 races of Round 1. Wednesday, you will see the final 31 cars of Round 1, and more than likely, you will see Rounds 2, 3, and 4 on Friday. So with that all out of the way, let's get into Race 1 of Round 1. Lantern, Engine, Siren, and Pullback will kick us off in Race 1 of Round 1. Keep in mind, everyone in this race did not finish their Round 1 race from January. So this will certainly be an interesting one. So now, let's get the February competition underway. It's a pretty even start. Maybe Pullback ahead a little bit. Siren now pulls into the lead. A little wobble. He's now pulling away from the rest of the pack. And Siren, who did not finish the last race, will finish this one. Pullback comes in behind. Engine bounces off his finish line piece, and he and Lantern will DNF. So for 4 competitors who did not finish their Round 1 race from January, certainly had a good run here, Siren moves on to the next round. Bird, Cage, 27, and Ladder race next. And upon further review, we figured out what made Bird DNF her race in the last competition. That kind of weird situation there. Apparently her front end is a little too low, got caught through the transition, and caused her to DNF. So that issue has been fixed for this one. She is in reverse in this race. Everyone else going forwards. It's a pretty even start. Bird might be ahead early. Cage bounces way in the air. He's now on the side of the track. 27 pulls away to grab the victory. Ladder barely gets through in 2nd place. And Bird and Cage will DNF. A crazy ride there for Cage through the transition ultimately causes him to get off the track and DNF. 27 gets the win. 5, Jeep, Chevelle, and Birthday. It's a pretty even start. Jeep and Chevelle furthest ahead, but they both bounce in the middle lane. 5 drives around them, but here comes Birthday to drive around both of them and get the win. Chevelle and Jeep had the lead through the transition, but both of them had a terrible ride. Driving through, 5 drove around them, ultimately ends up in 3rd place. Birthday, though, drives around everyone to grab the win. Fire, Minecart, Sunshine, and Orange. I would say I'm a little worried about Minecart, but I said that in the last competition and he was fine. But I didn't say that about Fire and he was not fine. So I'm just going to say I'm a little worried about Fire and hopefully things go well. And it's a very even start through the transition. Minecart bounces way in the air. Sunshine's now off the track in front of him. Orange drives by to get the win. Sunshine and Minecart they will not drive past the finish line. Sunshine will finish. Minecart and Fire will both DNF. It has been believed, it has been said that Fire is ahead of Minecart. He, I guess, bounced off his piece, got closest to finishing, so he will be placed in 3rd. But that is rough for Minecart. Had a chance, but it was Sunshine getting off the track, ruining it for him. Orange, the one I'm overlooking in all of this, Orange drives on to the next round. Orange Liner, Johnson, Metrotech, and Fins. I'm a little worried about Fins in this one. He had a rough wreck in the last competition, just does not get through that transition very well, so hope he can get through it this time. Finn starts in front. Metrotech caught up at the start line. Finn's now off the track in front of Metrotech in his lane. Orange Liner slowing down, giving Johnson the easy victory. Finns gets back into his lane so Metrotech can come home in 2nd. Finns crosses the line in last. That is what I was worried about. There from Finns, worried about him getting off the track. Luckily, it didn't exactly affect Metrotech. He still got caught up at the start line and still finished 2nd. Johnson on to the next round. Bones, Dylan, Bronze, and Charger. I hope I don't jinx it for, the 3rd race in a row? But Dylan got caught up through the transition in his round 1 race in the last competition, so let's hope he's clean in this one. It's a pretty even start. Charger maybe ahead a little bit. Dylan through the transition clean. They're 4 wide to the line. Dylan falling back. Charger and Bronze in the lead. And Charger will barely beat Bronze across the line. It was our first clean race of the competition. Everyone finishes. Dylan got through cleanly, but was still a little slow at the finish line, so maybe a little more he needs to look at there. A close battle with Charger and Bronze gives Charger the win. Volks, Rescue, Double Liner, and Stinger. I mentioned it in the last competition. Stinger in lane 4 has trouble on tracks like this one. He wrecked in the last competition going forwards. He's now in reverse in this one. Let's hope that helps his issues getting through the transition. It's a pretty even start. Stinger actually out in front, but there goes Stinger on the side now on his roof. Close between Rescue and Double Liner at the front, and Double Liner will beat Rescue across the line. Voltage just barely gets through the line, and Stinger once again with a wreck through the transition. He wrecked going forwards. He wrecked going backwards. I don't know what else needs to be done with him, but I guess the Diecast Competition Series officials and Stinger will be looking at that. M9, Jordan, and Fender. It's a pretty even start. 9 and Fender might be ahead a little bit. Jordan and 9 bounce through the transition. Fender still in the lead. A car length ahead of Fender a car length ahead of Jordan, as he crosses the line. A clean one right there, except maybe Jordan and 9 through the transition there. And also, finally, a race I didn't have anything bad to say about any competitor. Nice, good racing right there. Fender driving on to the next round. Impreza, Finish, Velvet, and Oldster. It looks to be Finish falling behind early, bouncing through the transition, though everyone's still clean. It's 3 wide across the line, and it's Velvet with the win. Nice and clean there. Oldster limping across the line. 3 wide across the line, and Velvet comes out on top. Ford, Bullet, 13, and Department in lane number 4 is the first of 8 New Yorkers in this competition. He's also the lowest starting New Yorker this season, so he's got a lot of ground that he can make up. 13 and Department may be the furthest ahead, a wobble through the transition. Department now a car length ahead of 13, crossing the line. Department will get the win. I mentioned Department is the lowest starting New Yorker in this season. I guess I should say in this season. That is big. This win is huge, and he's got the speed to be able to run up at the front. So him moving on to the next round is huge. Total, Basket, Patriot, and Outlander. It's a relatively even start. Outlander might have the lead. A big bounce. Outlander rolls onto his roof. Totals off the track. Basket will get the win ahead of Patriot. Outlander slides on his side into 3rd place. And Total as well, DNFs. Man, we just had a clean race, and now we're back to the absolute destruction. Not to mention that Patriot also got off the track there. There was so much going on that I couldn't even mention that too. So Patriot, though, comes home in second. Basket moving on to the next round. Pattern, Flatbed, Silver, and Exalta. Who's a very even start there. Flatbed a little sideways, and now he's on his side, but he stays in his lane. No one, though, has the speed to catch Exalta, who crosses the line first. Man, I thought Flatbed was going over right there. He somehow stayed in his lane, comes home in last, but a very impressive save. It's Exalta moving on to the next round. Sierra, Luke, 30 and 37. 37 in lane 4 is the second of 8 New Yorkers to run in this competition. 37 also got caught up at the start line in his round 1 race in the last competition. Fingers crossed that has been fixed. And Sierra had in lane 1 had a lot of speed in her round 1 race in the last competition. Just did not get through the transition very well. So let's also hope her mistakes have been fixed as well. 37 a little slow out of the start line, but things seem to be fine. 30 bounces big time in the air. But Sierra's in front, 30 trying to pass, 30 passes across the line. Sierra finally got through the transition, but 30 denies her across the finish line. So close for Sierra right there. It's 30 though, moving on to the next round. And big race there for 37. No mistakes, no issues for him, just a nice clean run. DFD 68, Christopher and Gregson. It's a relatively even start. Gregson seems to be holding the lead. A big bounce for the 2 middle lanes through the transition. And it's 4 wide across the line. It looked like Gregson was able to get the win. And he was. 4 wide across the line. Gregson able to hold on, led from start to finish. But it wasn't without challenge. Sean, Plasma, Nighttime, and Reem. Plasma in lane number 2, the only competitor not going backwards in this race. We'll see if that benefits or hurts him. It's a very even start. Plasma seems to be in the lead. They wobble through the transition, and it's Sean now with the lead. Can anyone catch him? Reem was close, but Sean will be able to hold on across the line. Plasma had a great start. Unfortunately, fades there late, especially through the transition. Did not get through that well at all. He comes home in last. Reem almost stole this one from Sean, but it just wasn't meant to be. Bolt, Captain Shooter, Netspend, and Skull. Okay, in all seriousness, lane 2 is actually just Shooter. I chose to add the captain in there because he got his flight lessons in the last competition, went soaring in the air. He's been placed in reverse for this race to try and help that. And it's a very even start. Bolt and Shooter seem to be in the lead. Skull with a big bounce. It looks like Bolt is in the front, but it's actually Shooter who drives by and gets the win. Skull barely gets across the finish line, but Shooter went from flying in the last competition to keeping his wheels on the ground in this one and grabbing that win from Bolt. That felt like a statement win. Mimi, Harvick, Cruz, and Rancher up next. Cruz coming off of a heartbreaking loss in the last competition. I'm pretty sure he DNF'd the race, if I remember correctly, but he was leading when he clipped the sides. That usually happens to him when he's in the outside lanes. He's in lane 3 this time, though, so hopefully he brings that speed again and can actually close out the deal. And it's a very even start. It looks like Cruz has the lead, bucks up the back end a little bit, and it's Harvick now in the lead who'll get the win ahead of Cruz. Cruz seemed like he brought a little bit of that speed back, but jumping up that back end past the transition definitely did not help him whatsoever, giving Harvick the win. Busch, Bruiser, 35, and Citron. It's a relatively even start. It looks like 35 has the lead, but it's a big bounce, a little bit on the side. Bruiser as well, and they're 3 wide across the line. Citron gets the win ahead of Bruiser. Looked like 35 had it early, but once again, the transition is a huge part of whether you win or lose these races, and he did not get through the transition very well. Citron did, and so that's why he's moving on to the next round. Gamera, Throwback, Fishy, and Gibbs. Fishy, the story of his career the last few competitions has been heartbreakingly close to a win, yet he's always coming up second place. Hopefully he can change that narrative in this competition. It's a pretty even start. Fishy actually in the lead, but he bounces up onto the side of the track. Gamera now has a huge lead to take the win. It's not a second place, but it's equally as heartbreaking for Fishy. Coming home third, had the lead coming into the transition, but like I said in the last competition, it is huge to success on this track. He didn't get through it very well, got his back end up in the air onto the side of the track. He comes home in third, was unable to gather it up in time. High Point, Horseplay, Hendrick, and One-Liner. It's a pretty even start. Horseplay might be ahead, heading through the transition. They wobble through it. High Point challenging Horseplay, but he'll be able to hold on. Horseplay, that is, able to hold on across the line, getting the win, moving on to the next round. That is big for him. High Point, though, didn't let it come easy, was very close there. Diablo, Interstate, Tron, and Crystal. And it looks like Crystal has the early lead here through the transition. Diablo bounces, Tron flips over. Interstate's on the track. Crystal doesn't have enough speed, and Diablo will cross the line in first place. Interstate gets across the line on the side of the track. Tron upside down, halfway down the track. It looked like it'd be Crystal, but Diablo drives on to the next round. 10, Black, Kyle, and Rover up next. A very similar issue with Stinger, who I mentioned earlier, who raced earlier in this competition, in this round. The same issue is with Rover, who starts in lane 4 in this race, has a tendency to flip over, though he's a little bit better, so we'll just have to wait and see. It's a very even start. Rover in the lead, but there he goes, flipping on his roof. Kyle as well, rolling over. It's side by side across the line. Black bounces, and he'll get the win ahead of 10. A limp across the line for both competitors. I really thought 10 had it, but I suppose not. Kyle on his roof will slide further down the track than Rover, so he will be credited with third. Rover credited with fourth, and that race was just chaos. BP, Racer, Mustang, and Lego. And it looks like Racer ahead but gets swallowed up by BP. Racer bounces way in the air but lands back in her lane. It's 3 wide across the line, and Lego will get the win ahead of Mustang. Racer had the lead early, fell back into the clutches of her competitors, then soared in the air. Really well done, though, by her to keep it in her lane. We've seen a lot of competitors get onto the side of the track, get into other competitors. So her being able to keep it in her own lane is great. And then it was a fun 3-wide finish at the finish line with Lego getting the victory. Country, Armor All, Tire Pros, and Catapult up next. Catapult in lane number 4 had a very impressive comeback in her round 1 race in the last competition. Just kind of ran out of time, ultimately finished second, so let's see what she can do in this one. It's a very even start. Catapult, though, in the lead, bounces and now flips on her roof. It's Country and Armor All in the lead, and Armor All will pull away with the win. Catapult stuck on her roof about halfway down the track, maybe a little past halfway, and what could have been a win ends up being a DNF. Armor All drives on to the next round. Rev, Mahindra, Taxi, and Copo. Taxi is the third of 8 New Yorkers to run in this competition. Copo and Taxi have the early lead. Copo bounces up onto the side, bounces off the track into the side of Taxi, and that'll give Mahindra the speed to get the win. Taxi had the lead, could have won this race, but instead he gets hit by Copo and slows down enough for Mahindra to get the win. And yeah, Taxi is not happy with Copo. Here they are having a discussion. Hopefully it is just that, just a discussion. No fights so far, and hopefully we can keep it that way. But Taxi had a chance to win, to improve his current points position, but unfortunately he is going to lose out on those potential points. Howler, Trunkless, Goldie, and Skyline. Howler in lane number 1 had a fantastic run on the sister track to this one in 2020, but was very disappointing in his round 1 race in January. He actually wrecked out of it, while his older brother, Fangs, went on to nearly make it to round 3. So let's hope Howler has cleaned up his mistakes. And it looks like Howler and Skyline pulling ahead through the transition. Howler bounces, but is pulling away from the rest of the field. And Howler claims an incredible win. A statement win by Howler. It feels like I've been saying that a lot in this competition. But that is truly a statement win from Howler with how much I dragged him in the January competition. Getting this win is incredible for him. Comscope, Kurt, Tootsies, and Speeder are up next. Speeder in lane number 4, the only non-NASCAR in this race, and also the only one not going backwards in this race. So let's see how that affects him. It's a very even start. Speeder might be ahead a little bit. They wobble through the transition, and it's Comscope pulling ahead. The battle for second place also goes to Tootsies. So the 299 Diecast come home first and second, and Speeder, the only one not going in reverse, held his own, nearly finished second. We here at the Diecast Competition Series have our stupid moments, and this certainly is one of them. As you can see, the finish line piece for lane number 1 has been flicked up. We forgot to put it down after the last race, which is completely on us. That will not happen again for the rest of this competition, but unfortunately it does not get fixed before this race runs, which is why I'm pointing it out now. So we just kind of had to do some, not exactly mental math, but we'll just call it mental math. We had to do some mental math to try and figure out where Kohler placed in this race. So with that out of the way, Kohler, Moneyline, M3, and Blackout Race next, M3 came so close to winning his way to round 2 in the last competition. Unfortunately, he did get beat out by Pursuit, but he brought a lot of speed. So let's see what he does in this one. It looks like M3 has the lead early, bouncing through the transition. M3's on the side of the track. Kohler wobbles, and it's very close across the line. And it's Moneyline who'll get the win. And upon further evaluation, it looks like Kohler has been placed in third. So that is 2 competitions in a row where M3 has been so close to a win in round 1 to advance to round 2. Moneyline moves on to the next round. We're just 2 races away from the end of the first half of round number 1. It goes by quickly when you break it up into a couple of parts. This race right here has won 28 Chomps and 55. Chomps in lane number 3 has had just a terrible start to the 2025 season. He got onto the side of the track and DNF'd his race in the All-Star New Year's tournament, and then went barrel rolling off the track in the January competition. He said after that barrel roll that he would be running in reverse. Here he is, keeping his word, running in reverse. Let's hope this solves his problems. And it's a very even start. Chomps, though, has the lead through the transition, bounces 28 on the side of the track as well. And that is a huge lead and win for Chomps. You know, I hoped that putting Chomps backwards was going to help him with not only speed, but being able to finish. But I did not think it was going to help that much. That was incredible. Chomps moves on to the next round with enough speed to possibly win this competition. Whoops, I misspoke. This is the second to last race of the first half of this round. It contains Missile, Safari, Railing, and Drafter. It's a pretty even start. Drafter in the lead through the transition. Railing bounces way in the air. Now on the side of the track, drag race across the line, and Drafter will get the win. Railing will slide to a halt, DNFing. Unfortunately there, taking a page out of Shooter's book, going way in the air there. Drafter, though, gets the win ahead of Missile. I mentioned with M3 and Fishy that they've had some heartbreaking second places. Well, Missile has as well, so add this one to the list. It's Drafter. Moving on to the next round, though. Final race of the first half of round number 1 contains Brant, Redliner, Tab, and Fastenal. Fastenal had a heartbreaking race in the January competition. Could have won, but Mixer getting onto his side prevented him from being able to win that race. So let's see if he's got some redemption in this one. It's a very even start. Brand seems to be in the lead, now bouncing. Redliner on the side of the track. It's Tab in the lead, but now bouncing and wobbling in. Fastenal will come across the line in first. Fastenal does have some redemption in him in this competition. It was so close for Tab, though, just the way she's designed and how she raced there, had her bouncing and wobbling there, lost a lot of speed. So it's Fastenal moving on to the next round instead of her. And that's the end of the first 31 races of round number 1. Here are the competitors moving on. It is very tough to pick a winner of this competition already, not only because it's round 1, but we're only halfway through. But it's more than likely that at least half of round number 4, will come from this group. If I had to pick one, I'd have to go Chomps. He was very impressive in that race, a big lead. I think he's got the speed to possibly win. It's difficult, though. I could be completely wrong. Still half of this round to go, and then, of course, the rest of this competition. If you don't want to miss it, subscribe to the channel. It'll help me out a lot, and it'll help you out, too, because you get to watch the rest of this competition. But until the next part, which will hopefully be up later this week, my name is Farkle8000, and we'll see you later.